Morning. How's it going? Wow. What a situation. Paul and Barnabas were thought to be gods. Woo. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? I mean, Paul and Barnabas weren't confused who they were. The other people were confused. Didn't know exactly who they were. Have you ever kind of wondered who you are? I mean, sometimes it's hard to figure out, right? Sometimes we think, well, maybe, I'm a student, right? Most of you probably are. Or maybe you might be like an athlete or a musician. You might even be a friend. It's confusing, right? Can you really be all of those? I mean, let's say this is you. Now, so you say you're a student. Well, you're a little bit of you're a student, right? You got some of you in there, and maybe you're an athlete. You play soccer or softball or basketball. So a little bit like that, right? There's some of that. And you're a friend, right? You got friends. You're a friend of them. A little bit there. And maybe you play an instrument, violin or drums, bagpipes. Mrs. Frickert would love it if somebody played bagpipes. Nah, I would. So you got a little there. But you know what else? You're also a child of God. Paul and Barnabas knew that and understood that they were most importantly a child of God. So when you're a child of God, it's not just being filled with God's love, but God kind of seals it in so that, it's there with you. God's always with you. You're always a child of God. Because maybe if you're an athlete, maybe you don't make the team. Maybe you're not as good as you thought you were. Or maybe you might get injured and life is all kind of chaotic and if that's who you only were was an athlete, and all those bad things happen, well, that would be a problem. Or, you're a student. What if you go in one day and you forgot today there was a test? Or you studied as hard as you could, you did all the homework anyway, and you failed. And if only I was a student, that'd be a mess. And what if your best friend tells you that they're moving and they're leaving the state and they're gonna never see them again and you don't have a friend anymore? And what about, you play an instrument and you try and you study and you practice and you rehearse and it's still, if you play violin, it still sounds like, a bunch of cats screeching and or you don't make the band because they say you're not good enough. That would be sad. But Paul and Barnabas knew that they're a child of God. And no matter what storm happens, no matter how rough life is, no matter what, because God keeps his love inside of us, always. Paul and Barnabas weren't confused. They knew they were children of God. You are a child of God as well. And then no matter what happens, no matter how rough and tough and splashy life gets, God's love is always with you. Will you join me in a word of prayer? Dear God, we thank you that you fill us with your love, and that no matter what happens in our lives, we always have your love in us. We're always your child. And help us to remember that and not be confused who we are, because we're your child. Amen.